Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to lesson 8.4.1 on descending fifth sequences. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, what exactly is a sequence? So a sequence is a repetition of musical material at a different pitch level. So basically you take a melody, or a harmony, or you take something, and then you transpose it. Beautiful. So what I just played was a melodic sequence. I took a melody, and I started on a different pitch. A harmonic sequence would be a pair of harmonies that you then repeat at a different pitch level. You can put them together. And that's pretty common to have melodic and harmonic going on at the same time, but it's not necessary. So I could have a melodic sequence and have just completely unrelated harmonies underneath. I could go like same first two chords, but then so the chords were if we're in C, I went from 4 to 2, and then 5 to 1. So there's no sequence going on there. A diatonic sequence, which is what I've been playing, stays within the key. It maintains the interval size, the number, but not necessarily the interval quality, whether it's major or minor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. It's all stepwise, but there's a half step between 3 and 4. Going up diatonically, the half step is still between 3 and 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. So it's at a different point in the melody. If it were a chromatic sequence, then it would sound completely different, and we're probably moving towards a different key. We're just worrying about diatonic sequences in this unit. Chromatic sequences will be covered in Unit 10. Because sequences have specific things going on, you're allowed to relax some standard voice leading rules, prioritizing the consistency of the sequence. The same way that when you have like parallel tenths in the soprano and bass, that allows you to override some voice leading concerns. So, when you're writing sequences, you should be lazy. Use the same voice leading for each pair of chords. Diminished triads and root position are fine in a sequence. Scale degree 7 doesn't need to resolve to 1 in the context of a sequence. Excuse me. Great, all these things are relaxed. So in a descending fifth sequence, each pair of chord roots descends by fifth. Not necessarily the bass, but the root. So that means that the pattern descends by second each time it recurs, because D down a fifth is G, down a fifth is C, down a fifth is F. But if you just keep literally going down a fifth, then you're going to end up in the basement pretty soon. So realistically, it's going to be D to G, then bump up C to F, bump up B to E. And each time D, C, B, that's descending by a second. So in major, this is just going around the circle of fifths. Major 1, major 4, diminished 7, minor 3, minor 6, minor 2, major 5, major 1. In minor, you have your minor 1, minor 4, major flev, major flea, major flicks, diminished 2, major 5, and minor 1. So here are some common ways to voice lead the chords. Notice that usually a sequence, most of it is in one region of the basic phrase model. So if you start on a tonic chord, it's probably going to extend the tonic area. If you were to start on a predominant chord, it would probably extend the predominant area, that kind of thing. So let's hear these voice leadings. Ooh, that's going to be a stretch for my hands. So bit jumpy in those upper parts. That it works. It's fine. Trying to figure out why it's not smoother. As it could go E to F, D to E. Well, then you'd be missing a chord tone, so that needs to go somewhere. G to A. I don't know. Here's one with the every other chord in first inversion. Smoother voice leading here. and it breaks it for root position 1 at the end. And here it's the other chord that's in first inversion, so here's the first chord of each pair. And those are pretty easy to play on piano because it's the same hand shapes, just, you keep scooting them down the keyboard. You can also add sevenths. If you have all seventh chords, every other chord is going to have to be incomplete. Leave out the fifth because it's the least important. Chordal sevenths do still have to resolve down by step in sequences. So here I've marked where the sevenths are resolving down by step. Here every chord is a seventh, so some of the chords are incomplete. That's a complete seventh chord, but here you just have B doubled D, F is missing, and then A. So that's where you're missing your I for incomplete. So here's the first one with all seventh chords. Here, every other chord is a seventh chord, the second chord of each pair. And then 5, 7 to 1 at the end there. That's fine. Here we have every other chord is a seventh chord in first inversion. And here we have every chord is a seventh chord, but alternating first and third inversions. I'm sorry. That's a pretty crunchy one, but it does give you that nice stepwise descending bass line. So, different ways to write sequences, and I believe you'll also be identifying some sequences. So, go ahead and check that out. I'll see you next time.